Okay. Day two's in the books. We didn't operate with any pads, and so tomorrow things will change a little bit. However, I think there's some positive things that are going on out there. Particularly, I was pleased with Josh Allen today. I thought he took another step forward. Dealing with sometimes not everything's perfect, but making sure he's making good decisions. There's one poor decision he made that I saw, but outside of that, I thought he really took care of the football, made some nice plays. I was particularly pleased, a couple receivers. James Price, for a young guy, went up and made a pretty spectacular catch today, and that's encouraging for us. But, we've got two pretty experienced guys, Jake Mulhar and Tanner Gentry, and I think Jake Hollister is going to be very capable, but to develop some other guys. And that was just one play, but I was encouraged by that. Thought some guys in the defensive front showed some promise, even though we were not pads. There were some things. Johanna Gafan had some good pass rushes today, along with Carl Granderson. So we're encouraged about that. Robert Priester and Andrew Winger were still held out. Precautionary, say, heal from that hamstring pull. Josh is still in a red jersey, but I think he's about full speed. So no injuries that I saw. It was not a perfect day, but I thought we made some improvement today. So questions.
You mentioned the receivers. We've talked about Tanner and Jake a lot. Ideally, would you like to have 4 or 5 deep or 6 deep as far as that goes, and maybe to equal that distribution out among?
Well, there's no doubt about that. However, I think that there's a pretty distinct separation from some of those guys. They play so much at a high level. But it's going to be important that, in our younger groups, whether it be James Price, CJ, or Joe Parker, probably leaving somebody out. But, some of those younger guys, there's going to be times when they're going to be playing. If you run a fade route, the chances of that guy playing the very next play pretty slim. You're going to have another guy in there. And so, and injuries do come into play. So that's one of the things we're looking for during fall camp, not only execution and not only being able to be competent at what you're doing, but developing depth.
With you being obviously a defensive guy, where do you see that side of the ball kind of shaping up year 3, and is it starting to sort of get where you want it?
Well, we certainly looked a little bit more athletic. We're filling out our uniforms a little bit more, not only filling our uniforms out, but a little bit more speed. And we think that that's going to be important, particularly in our league, because there's a whole variety of offenses that you play. You play some teams that are very traditional like us, pro style, and then you see some other people that are wide open. And so you've got to have the combination of being a big, thick guy, but also can run. And so we're encouraged about that. I think, we're still developing some depth with some younger players, particularly at the linebacker spot, but we're encouraged by what we've seen.
I know, like your first year, everything was new, schematic-wise, and last year, defensively, so many young guys. I know you haven't been able to force a lot of turnovers over the first couple of years, and I know you work on them. I know I've seen the drills and stuff. You working on it even more a little bit this year? Are you doing anything different to maybe try to hopefully to force a few more turnovers?
Well, some of that comes into aggressive play, athleticism, and explosion. I think the physical composition of some of our guys, they're stronger, leaner. They're more assertive because they're more aggressive. They know what they're doing. You're right, we are way off the mark on creating and generating takeaways. And drills are important, but to actually do it out there on the grass is where the real transition comes into play. And so it's going to be an important part. We're going to continue to focus on that, but I just think our players being another year in the system is going to add a little bit more to being aggressive, and that's typically more hats on the football, more guys around the football, more people going up and taking the ball.
I know you mentioned at media days that you're maybe a little behind schedule where you thought you might be year 3. What are some of the biggest reasons you think that is?
Well, I think first of all, pretty significant structural change. It's easier when you're coming in and we had a system that was in place. No fault of the players that were there or the coaches, but they were a 3-4 defense and an offensive system that was a spread. And so when you change those things, that's a major change as far as everything from offensive linemen to running backs to you got a defensive end and a 3-4. Well, where's he fit? And so probably put us a little bit behind. But these are the things that not only we know as coaches, but we feel like are the right systems for long-term success at Wyoming. And so as each recruiting cycle goes along, you're going to see more and more depth. And also being in developmental program, that comes into additional time in the weight room and nutrition and off-season conditioning.
Saw Milo back today. I imagine
Yeah.
it was nice to see him. And just how's he doing?
I think he's doing well. You know, it's always tough. We went through a really tough tragedy back home, and you know, everybody handles those situations different. As a coaching staff, you know, we support him and love him, and you know, this is a family here too for him, and I believe he feels that, and so it's going to be important. One of the best things for a player to do is get back in a routine around his buddies doing the same things, and that gives you a little bit more sense of normalcy, because what he's gone through certainly is not normal.
With that,